let's go ahead and talk about the fifth thing that will separate you from other applicants. And this is a category, a skills category, but the technical skills, right? So while we say hard skills are table stakes, or and that people skills are more important, we still need to see some technical skills out of you. We still need to see hard skills. And I've heard, listen, I teach hiring managers how to get people on their teams and how to build strong teams. One thing that hiring managers say to me a lot is, oh, I need to find an InfoSec rock star or a cybersecurity rock star, right? Because I have this one open position, but I have to have everything done. Like, this person has to run audits, they have to design controls, they've got to do all these things, they got to give the board presentations. And I'm like, slow down. Wait a minute. The idea that you're going to find one person with all of that built in is pretty dang low. So what I want you to do is I want you to redefine Rockstar to not be one person who can do everything. But I want you to redefine that to be a person who's really, really deep and expert in one thing. And then I want you to look for a candidate that also has some business savvy, some general business savvy, and some general tech savvy. Because if you can find that person, and this is what we call a T-shaped person, then you can be pretty sure that they can go deep in other areas as well. But maybe that's something for the future. Anyway, but technical skills, I think T-shape, the way I described, is a very attractive profile for what I mean when I say cybersecurity rock star. But I know there's other ways to define that term that are still very practical, rather than this purple rainbow unicorn type person that I kind of described in the beginning. Jason, do you see any other types of great profiles? I talked about T-shape. What do you see?
Yeah. So, when we talk about technical skills and you talk about these, special unicorns, and we see this a lot in hiring managers where they say, I want somebody who has all these years of experience and all these different things. And it's like, look, even if you could find that special unicorn, he only comes out on Fridays and every, 14th Friday of the month or something like that. Right. And if you could find him, he's going to be so expensive, you're not going to want to pay the salary anyway. And so that becomes a challenge too. Right. So generally when I talk with hiring managers and myself as well, I look at it as the three different shapes. We have I-shaped people, T-shaped people, which Kip already talked about, and pie-shaped people. Now we talk about an I-shaped person.
You
These are
mean
the
pie,
people.
like delicious apple pie?
No, pi like the Greek symbol, like 3.1.
Ah,
Yeah, we'll get there in a second.
okay.
But yeah, so we talk about I-shaped, right? I is basically like a capital letter I. It's just up and down straight. And so when I think about people like people who have a PhD in something, right? They tend to be very I-shaped. They are experts in that one thing, but if you ask them anything outside of that, they're not going to be able to help you because that's what they've spent their entire life focused on. My cousin, he loves cars, and he could probably tell you the gas mileage for any car made since like 1970. He just loves cars and stats and figures and all that stuff about cars. Me, I couldn't care less, but that's his thing. Now, if I ask him anything about computers or sports or anything else, doesn't care. He only cares about cars and how much torque and horsepower and miles per gallon and all that kind of stuff, right? So he's a very I-shaped person where he's very focused on one specific thing. Now, when you get to T-shaped people, that's like Kip said, you have somebody who is deep in one area, but they can also branch out and do some other things. So, for example, maybe you're a programmer and you are really, really good at writing code in Java and making apps for Android and things like that. But if I asked you to, code me some cryptography stuff, you'd be like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know any cryptography. But if you're a T-shaped person, you can go, well, I'm really deep and really good as a programmer. I bet I could research and learn that other thing and then code that cryptography based on what I'm learning. And so they generally have a very deep area in one area, but then they have a semi-decent spread across the others. Generally, if you get somebody who has like a 4-year degree, if you have a bachelor's degree in computer science, you tend to be a pretty T-shaped person because going through that 4-year program, you're going to get some history and some math and some science and some psychology and sociology and all that stuff, but you also get your very deep programming knowledge. And so that kind of becomes more of this T-shaped person. And then we have what's called a pie-shaped person. I tend to think I am a pie-shaped person, and you can see this even if you go to my website, diontraining.com, that I am the lead instructor and I teach 3 main areas because I have very extensive experience in all 3 of those areas. One is IT service management, which is all my idle courses and how do you run an IT organization. I have another one that's all my project management courses because I spent a lot of years doing project management for IT organizations. And so I have a bunch of courses in that area. And then I have a third pillar, which is my cybersecurity stuff. And I've spent, 25 years or so doing cybersecurity. And so I have a deep knowledge in all three of these areas. And so I'm qualified to teach and consult on all those areas. Now, in general, are you going to find somebody who has expertise in all three of those areas? Probably not. But because of my time in the military, they tend to move you around a lot. You do a lot of different jobs, and I got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. And so I became more of this pie-shaped person. We call it pi because it looks like the Greek letter pi, which if you've ever looked at it, it's two up and down lines with this little tilde going across the top. So instead of a T with one down, you now have two downs. Or in my case, I have three downs. So maybe I'm an M-shaped person, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. But now when you start presenting yourself as one of these people, and you're writing your resume, you have to know what are you trying to highlight and what message are you trying to send to the hiring manager, right? So when I write my resume, if I'm looking for a job, I have 4 different resumes that I use depending on which job I'm applying for. I have one that really focuses on my teaching ability. I have one that focuses on my cybersecurity ability. I have one that focuses on my IT operations ability and talking about all the budgets I did and all the people I've run and all the large scale networks I've done. I have another one for project management, how much money and budgets I did and time and scope and all the projects we did, because I've done some 30, 40, $50 million projects. And so, depending on what job I'm applying for with, Kip, the hiring manager, I would put out my best foot based on which of those shapes I want to show and which skills I want to highlight. And my whole point in bringing this up is not to pat Jason on the back because Jason doesn't enough of that on his own. He's got a big head. But really what I'm talking about here is most of us have a lot of different skills in a lot of different areas. Most of us are T-shaped people. We have that one very strong pillar that we spend a lot of time in. But we've done other things too. For instance, you may have spent the last 10 years doing a lot of marketing. So your marketing is really, really deep, but you've got a lot of stuff going across the top as well, where you've taken some courses in programming, you've taken some courses in cybersecurity, you've done some labs, whatever those things are. And so you have some skills in those areas, but they're not super, super deep. Now, when it comes to applying for jobs, you may want to highlight certain things. If you are a marketing person, but you're not applying for a marketing job, don't highlight your deep knowledge of marketing, right? You want to highlight your cybersecurity stuff, but some of that stuff can be brought over and reworded so that it applies to the area of the job you're going to. So keep that in mind as you're going through and you're thinking about technical skills, because it really, I like to think about technical skills and transferable skills that could apply to the job you're applying for, because again, we're talking about the 5 things you could do to separate you from the other applicants for that particular job. And so I wanted to make that point, because it's not necessarily just your technical skills, because anyone can learn a technical skill. It's how you present them and how you show people that you can solve real world problems using those skills that you have.
Yep. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. So there's I-shaped people, T-shaped people, pie-shaped people, not apple pie. Although that
Not
gives
circle.
you a certain shape, right?
Too, right? I'm pretty shapy there now. I've had a lot of apple pie.
And then M-shaped, right? Because you talked about like a pie with a third leg, so it's kind of an M. But I think that's fantastic, because that is how hiring managers think about the technical skills of the people that they're considering. So well, that's fantastic.
All right, one last thing before we move on. When you're talking about these different shapes, right? If you are straight out of college and you've been working for 2 years, don't try to tell me you're an M-shaped person, because you're not. Right. If you have 2 years of experience, that doesn't make you an M-shaped person. When I'm talking about an M-shaped person or a pie-shaped person, I'm talking about somebody who has 5 to 10 years in those 2 legs that are falling down, right?
Or more.
Most people tend to be a T-shaped person, because you tend to get into one career field and you kind of go with it for a long time.